Hello, 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 and welcome. Can you hear me? No, I can't hear myself. Oh, that's why. Okay. Hello, 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 and welcome to the Sussex Studio Experience podcast. How are you today? So, today's episode is inspired by Princess Angela and our Princess Duchess Meghan. If you've ever watched the show Bridgerton, you may get this intro. Welcome, dear readers, to the Sussex Studio Experience podcast, where stories come alive. Today, we're diving into a tale of intrigue, love, and triumph, one that spans continents and cultures. We're talking about Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, and Angela Gisela Brown, two American women who became European royalty. But hold on, we're not starting at the beginning. Let's plunge into the middle of things where the drama is thick and the stakes are high. First, let me know if you can hear me because I haven't seen any activity in the chat, and I just want to make sure that I am coming across loud and clear. So I hope everyone is doing okay today. I will begin with the chat by saying hello, but I can't wait to get into this. Hello, scholars. Okay, so I still haven't seen anything. I don't know if it's lagging, but welcome, welcome, welcome. I've posted something in the chat myself and it's not come up yet. So anyway, we're going to be talking about these two women. And for those of you who voted in the community post about which thumbnail to put up, to use, I appreciate that. And this is the one that was selected, the one of Princess Angela and our Duchess telling their stories. Thank you so much, Louise, for letting me know that you can hear me. So here we go. Picture this. Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, is sitting down with Oprah Winfrey, revealing the raw truths of her life as a royal. The media is buzzing, and the world is hanging on her every word. Meanwhile, in the quiet and serene landscapes of Liechtenstein, Angela Gisela Brown, a woman of African and Panamanian descent, is living her dream with Prince Maximilian. But her journey, though less publicized, is just as compelling. These two women's stories are tales of love conquering all, of overcoming adversity, and of finding strength in their roots. Let's rewind a bit to how it all began. How many of you are familiar with Princess Angela? There's so much that they share in common with respect to their love for fashion and art. And there's so much of their backstory that also intersects around becoming the first modern royals of African descent, or first modern women of African descent to marry into a European royal family, right? There have been lots of affairs with women, and at the same time, we haven't seen a lot of marriages since Prince Charlotte, right? So Angela, an artist. So here's Angela's journey. We'll begin with that. Angela, an artist in New York City, meets Prince Maximilian of Liechtenstein at an art gallery. Imagine the scene: vibrant paintings, clinking glasses, and in walks a prince, captivated by Angela's artwork, and quite frankly, captivated by Angela. So I thought that I would write a kind of short story slash poem, and I wanted you guys to comment on that and like, what do you think about it? So you guys are pretty quiet today in the chat. Can I get a I am Meghan Markle today? Can I get an I am Meghan Markle today? So I'm gonna jump right in, and this poem is Meghan x Angela. It's a little poem that I crafted about their journeys, and it feels to me a bit like a children's book. So before I begin, I'll say that I have a background in creative writing. So before I started teaching, I got a BA in English, and my concentration was writing. So I love to engage in that as a kind of art form. So here we go. Once in America, land of dreams and might, lived Angela and Meghan, stars burning bright. Descendants of Africa with roots held tight, their stories of love and struggle take flight. Angela's journey. Angela, an artist with vision and grace, met Prince Max in New York, a magical place. In galleries bright, their hearts intertwined, an artful romance beautifully designed. To Liechtenstein she traveled, her new royal domain, with castles and gardens where love would remain. Her Panamanian roots in fashion displayed, in the quiet of Liechtenstein her spirit it stayed. Max and Angela in a world serene, with their son Alphonse living a dream, but behind the calm whispers did stir. Can she fit in? They'd often refer. Yet Angela with dignity faced the doubt. Her art and kindness, what life was about. Through media's eyes, rarely turned her way, her legacy of love continues to stay. Meghan's path. Meghan, the actress from Hollywood's fame, met Prince Harry, sparking love's bright flame. A blind date set up by a friend so dear led to a romance that quickly became clear. In the UK, where traditions run deep, their story caused many, many to weep. Yet challenges arose, the press did pry. Racism shadow they could not deny. Too different, they whispered, can she belong? But Meghan's resolve was ever so strong. With Harry beside her, they faced the storm, seeking a life where love could transform. Archie and Lily, their children so sweet, in California's sun they found a retreat. Away from the media's relentless glare, they built a home filled with love and care. Both women faced adversity's sting. Questions of love, questions of race, and doubts did they bring. Angela in silence, Meghan in the news, both showed resilience, refusing to lose. In Liechtenstein, Angela quietly thrived. Her story less known, but her spirit survived. Meghan's bold battles, Sussex Studios' light, showed strength and passion, turning wrongs to right. Fashion became their statement, their art. Angela's elegance, Meghan's bold heart. Panamanian hues and Hollywood shine. In Europe's courts, their styles did align. Angela's quiet grace in royal attire. Meghan's modern flair setting trends on fire. A blend of cultures in everything they wore. Their fashion spoke volumes and so much more. Admired by many, their legacy strong. To American princesses where they belong. From castles in Europe to California's coast, their stories inspire, that's what matters the most. Angela and Meghan, in their own unique ways, turn trials into triumph. Through all the days, their journeys teach us in history's light that love and courage can conquer any fight. So that's what I wrote. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, you said you can hear me. So I thought that I would do a little bit of history. So when I was teaching, there was this group of people who came together and used hip hop to teach kiddos. And when I would use this curriculum, my kiddos would instantly learned the lessons. They were engaged. They loved every single bit of it from like the the first moment that I played it until the end. They were like, "Oh, now we get it. Now we get it." So I love to do the same kind of thing. And I'm going to put some stuff on the screen. I actually wrote some of it out for you guys today. And again, thank you so much for voting in our community poll. This is the thumbnail that you guys chose. And before I move on to the next slide, let's take a look. So we have the sun shining through. We have women who have broken down a wall individually and jointly. They have their story and they both won. That's what I see. So where will their journeys take them? Individually, they took them to two different UK royal families, and they both, thank you so much, they both ended up having a wonderful kind of life, but neither one of their lives was without a fight. So with Princess Angela, who married years and years ago, who has a Prince Alphonse as her kiddo, and Meghan, who married more recently, both had to go through adversity, and they came out of the others on the other side, and they're both doing well in their individual ways. Angela managed to stay in Liechtenstein with her husband Max and with her kiddo, and Meghan ended up leaving Europe and returning to her own kind of royal place, which is Montecito, one of the most beautiful places on the planet. They had their individual stories and they both did it their own way. Shout out to Frank Sinatra. So let's go on. So here is the poem. Once in America, land of dreams and might, lived Angela and Meghan, stars burning bright. Descendants of Africa with roots held tight, their stories of love and struggle take flight. So hello, Connie. No worries, no worries. I'm so glad you are here. So I'm going to go through the slides, right? And then I'm going to come back to the slides. And I also have more prepared. So we went through all of these. And I want to get to some of the pictures of Princess Angela's family for those of you who are not very familiar with her, right? So Princess Angela is like Duchess Meghan. She is a fashion icon and has been. And so Prince Maximilian, who is in line, he's not the prince that's going to be able to take over, right? But yeah, so anyway, he's the spare and he married Angela. And so that story was like, well, okay, because, you know, for whatever. So they have a son. So here, okay, so first let's look at their dresses. So lots of people believe that Angela's dress was a kind of ode. I'm sorry, Duchess Meghan's dress was an ode to Princess Angela's dress. So when we take a look at it, you can see that they're both silk. You can see that they both are long sleeve gowns. You can see that they are both fitted. Angela has a little bit more flare at the bottom of hers. They're both carrying white flowers. Their veils are both, you know, long. And so it looks to me like an ode to. And they both love fashion, and they both married princes from Europe. So here's, yeah, Angela and Duchess Meghan. So here we go. The next one, we're going to look at Princess Angela's family. There's Princess Angela, her husband, and that's Prince Alphonse when he was a little fella. He's not little like that anymore, but isn't he adorable with his mommy sitting on her lap and with his papa sitting right next to him, right? So here we go. We'll go on to the next one. See, we grew him up really quickly. Prince Alphonse and Prince Max and Princess Angela, who hails also from the United States. Her family came and immigrated from Panama, and she ended up in New York as an artist, and that's where she met the love of her life, and they've been together for a long time. Again, Princess Angela was able to, she faced a lot of difficulties, and although she wasn't as scrutinized in the press, she got scrutiny in Liechtenstein, but for the most part, that ended relatively quickly, and it wasn't as public as our Princess Meghan's struggle was. But I think the whispers were the same. If we think back to when Meghan first went and she was doing one of her first public appearances, and she walked in and she talked about like hearing whispers, and it became apparent to her. First she was like, okay, this is different. This is not exactly what I'm used to. And then people started asking her these kinds of questions around her herself, her body, her inheritance, and things like that. So she's her heredity, if you will. And so that for Princess Meghan, that made it abundantly clear that these questions were meant to be slights. And so yeah, she struggled a lot more. So here they are two as a couple. And they're cheering around, right, with their wine glasses. And here they are again. I love this photo of them. We can't, there are not many photographs of them that exist. The focus seems to be on the crown prince. And yeah, so here they are again. You can tell she's extremely stylish, walking with her husband. There's one that I didn't include with his top hat. He had worn, the morning suit and the top hat, and she's wearing the top hat in another one. Maybe I'll include them in a future episode. I thought it was pretty cool. Why should I? I love this picture of them too. And she reminds me of Meghan in a lot of ways too, right? Very fashionable, very beautiful, very, very, very brilliant, and extremely artistic. This is Prince Alphonse, and he's eulogizing, I think, his grandfather. So he's not a baby like in those first images that we saw of him. He's a young man who has grown up enough to be able to share condolences and share a story about a loved one that he's lost. So, and then I couldn't not include some of our own faves, right? Here's one of, you guys can see Prince Harry and Princess Meghan and Prince Archie. And when we see them pictured in, thank you so much, Louise. When we see them pictured, we often see Harry. Lily's definitely, in my opinion, a daddy's girl. And Archie, I mean, they both love their parents, but clearly, like, Harry is always carrying Lily around, and Meghan's carrying that big boy around too, as if he's the size of Lily. And I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. So yeah, our faves and their kiddos, and we've seen this one too. I wish we would get a Christmas card with the kiddos, but I understand why we don't, because it is not, they don't want to have their kiddos pictures out there for people to harass them and start bugging them. But I think that their story is such a beautiful story. And I wanted to talk more about said story. So I'm going to go back to the beginning. I got through that pretty quickly. So here we are back at Meghan and Princess Angela in the beginning, right? And we see that their stories intersect pretty well. And we see that they both have had, challenges in their past. So Meghan's journey is nothing short of spectacular. From a Hollywood actress to all the work that she did in the UN, to all the studies that she did, prior to that, international studies and acting, her life has been a whirlwind. But the challenges that she's faced, especially from the press, have been intense, and they have been relentless. The media scrutiny faced by Meghan, especially when she was in the UK, and it's continuing today, I was looking at, and I rarely go here because it's typically a cesspool, but in doing research for the episode, somehow I ended up on Yahoo. And I'm like, Yahoo's really turned into a kind of site that is just a kind of tabloid site. But, everything you see about the Princess Meghan is, or almost everything you see, it is almost like it's framed through the lens of the UK media. It looks and feels to me like they've been successful. And, history has its eyes on the press. History has its eyes on the things that we do. History has its eyes on the way that the Duchess is living her life. And for most people who take a closer examination of her, we see her in her fullness and richness. I mean, even the fact that she paid homage to Princess Angela with the dress. She's looking back to go forward. She's trying to see, what are the maps that have been left by the people who have come before me? Okay, so perhaps she thought, Princess Angela, I remember when she looked at Robert F. Kennedy's John F. Kennedy's Jr.'s wife's dress, and she talked about loving the simplicity of that dress. Caroline Bessette, wedding dress. And so when she got married, I'm like, she's probably gonna have a dress that is fairly simple because she loves the clean lines of the wedding dresses, right? So let me move forward pretty quickly so I can show you guys that dress again. So yeah, so she loved Carolyn Bessette Kennedy's dress, and at the same time, she had to have a wedding dress that was going to be consistent with royal protocol. So what did that mean? That meant, Meghan typically likes to show her collarbone. Here we are. She likes to show her collarbone, and so I believe she had to get permission to do that. She loves sleek, clean lines and beautiful design. She managed to do that. And then having all of the countries of the Commonwealth sewn into her veil, all of these things, she's honoring tradition, she's honoring the tenets that of the royal family, she's honoring all of those things. And at the same time, she's honoring, I think, Princess Angela. So yeah, when we look at the dress, what do you guys think? Do you like the dress? Do you think that it's an homage? Do you think that I'm reaching? What are you guys thinking about this dress that our Duchess chose to wear? She's got, titles. We can even call her queen. But yeah, so when I look at this dress, when I look at the veil, I see like, oh, that's just such a beautiful homage. And it wouldn't have been an homage if she didn't like the fashion. So it is my belief that Meghan wanted to pay homage. She also wanted to have a beautiful dress. And this dress worked on so many levels. It works because, Princess Angela is also an artist and had her dress artfully designed. I believe she helped to design said dress, just like the Duchess was working also to get her dress designed to make sure that it was just so. And look how it came out. It came out really beautifully. And so I think that legacy Meghan carries throughout her life. She's always looking back as she's looking forward to find whatever those maps are. And she's very careful about what she does. She aligns herself with certain charities. She aligns herself with certain products. And those things have to meet certain standards, right? So like we said, Meghan's journey was nothing short of spectacular. And so then the media scrutiny with our Duchess was relentless. But Meghan's strength absolutely shone through. With Harry's unwavering support, they made a bold decision. The biggest being stepping back from royal duties and establishing their production company dedicated to creating inspiring content. Then they moved to California, and their move was leaked to the press. And because their move was leaked to the press, the UK, the BM media, right? We have to say that the BM media was enabled by design to tell their story about the Princess Royale. The media was able to get in there and say, this is what's happening, this is what's happening. And it's so ironic that the way these things get leaked. We don't want to do this. We don't want to send a copy, and we're afraid that this is going to happen. And boom, it happens. And then deny, right? And so what we have seen since they moved across the pond to the US is there have not been any leaks, right? We see this whole targeted campaign against them that continues. And at the same time, we see that though this targeted campaign continues in order to benefit allegedly certain people in the family, it does not have the same effect that it would have had there because it's not being leaked to the press. So we understand that wherever they were sending those releases, wherever they were sending those documents, those were the people who were leaking those things. And it was the same with the phone number, right? So both Angela, they had shared struggles, and they also have shared triumphs. Both Angela and Meghan faced racism and skepticism. Angela's struggle, though, was quieter, dealing with whispers and doubts in Liechtenstein. Meghan's was definitely more public, with both women showing incredible resilience. What must that be like to have to go through what she went through in the public and not have one newspaper, not have one kind of media discussing you, but to have a myriad of resources, a myriad of sources creating controversy around you just so they can sell more newspapers. And not only that, a lot of you talked about that agreement between the royal family and the press, and we see it. We see it in the press every single day. And so, despite whatever Harry and William agreed that they would not do, at least on one side, we see our Duchess suffering. We don't see the same thing. A source close to Meghan, a source close to Prince Harry, said this about William. Even despite all of the things that are happening right now, and how easy would it be for them to create controversy? Not even creating controversy. How easy would it be for them to discuss the controversy surrounding the missing sister-in-law, allegedly? They could easily do the same thing, and yet they understand that this is not who they are. This is not who they want to be. And though that the media would likely get more quiet around them if they decided to tell these salacious stories and have the media reported as a close source to, they've decided not to, because they can live with that, right? So Angela and Meghan, they have faced these things, and yet they both use fashion as a powerful tool, blending their cultural backgrounds into their royal roles. Angela's Panamanian elegance and Meghan's modern Hollywood flair have made significant impacts in their respective worlds. And we see it, right? We see it in the sales of the items that Meghan is wearing. Doesn't matter what she's wearing. There are going to be multiple articles that are going to talk about Meghan's earrings, Meghan's necklace, Meghan's scarf, Meghan's bag, Meghan's shoes, and attached to those resources is going to be a link where someone can purchase these items, and that will help the newspapers. That helps whatever the media source is to be able to get more money, more clicks, and people are able to purchase these things. So it is all by design. And so you will see, I have seen hundreds of times Meghan being dissected in the press and Meghan being talked about in a way that is just brutal. And then it will, talk about Meghan's wardrobe. This ring, Meghan's wardrobe is worth $78,000. And you'll find out, it includes the ring that was inherited, her wedding ring. It includes a watch that she inherited from Princess Diana. It includes, and then when you get down to her wardrobe, it will be, something that is a more realistic budget for the position that she's in. And so it's just like, really, we're doing this again? And then they will post links to whatever the items are to encourage people to shop, because a lot of times affiliate links, when posted to magazines and newspapers and other spaces, allow for people to make, and newspapers especially, to make a profit from the sale. So they're not only commodifying the Duchess with respect to, printing articles and creating articles around who she is, but simultaneously they're monetizing the very things that they're talking about, in a negative way. Oh, not only are we going to do this, but we're going to monetize the Duchess's outfits in a way so that we can get more and more profit and more profit and more profit. Shout out to Kendrick Lamar, right? So it's really incredible and terrible. And we see the way Meghan a lot more publicly uses fashion. And again, it's hard to find things on Angela, but we know that she's an artist. We know that she's fashionable every time that we see her. And she's getting close to 70 now. I'm like, oh, I think she's a year younger than Doria. She was born, I believe, in 1958. So she wouldn't maybe want me to say close to 70. So she's 66, around, 65, 66. And still, like, over there, she's having a kind of wonderful life with her husband, and her kiddo. So, so before we continue, I want to get into I haven't forgotten, our non-denominational prayer and our short meditation. So we're going to do another square breathing exercise today. And square breathing is inhale, hold, exhale, hold empty. Again, inhale, hold, exhale, hold empty. And what that can do is allow us to ground ourselves in the present moment and to begin to feel our breath moving through our body and feel a kind of gentle sense of calm for those of us who are able to do this kind of exercise. If you can, close your eyes And inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold empty, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do that one more time. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold empty, 2, 3, 4. So what I wanted to ask about before we continue is, how is our sick person? Have we heard anything about the condition? And have we, who does anybody know what's happening with respect to the surgery? I don't think I ever got a report on whether it went well and that they're recovering. So if anybody knows, can you please put that in the chat? Because, and I just want to send out thoughts and prayers and good wishes and energy too, right? Yeah, so Professor Zinzi and all other squatties, hello. Oh, if I were Meghan, I would tell the world. I can't see the rest of it yet, but I'm sure it'll come back up. Yeah, so non-denominational prayer before we move forward. Let's see. God of the universe, please bring a sense of calm and purpose to this space. Allow us to find joy. Allow us to find serenity. Allow us to find peace so that we may go forward into the world and have a life that we desire. Amen. All right. So I don't know if I'm getting better or worse at that, but yeah. So with respect to our Duchess, we understand that she has been through it, right? And she came out of it on the other side in a way that is, I think, wonderful. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to go back to these. I would tell the world that what was going on with Kate. Yeah, so do we think that, just aside, do we think that she knows? Do you think that when Prince Harry went there, that he was given any information? Because, we always hear, or, speaking for myself, I hear often, oh, they're not going to tell Harry anything because he would leak it to the press, even though, we don't believe that that's true. And so whatever the story is, do you think that King Charles has even relayed anything to Harry? Do you think that Harry has any contact information for Kate? Do you think that Harry has been able to have a conversation with, his sister-in-law? Or do you think that this whole space has just gone quiet and that there's a kind of refusal to let Prince Harry in at all? Because, we constantly see in the media that there's that whole script around, oh yeah, we don't tell them because they're going to tell other people. And yet at the same time, simultaneously, you see a bunch of leaking of different things. This, though, has been the thing around Kate. The fact that there's been no news and we don't even really see her Uncle Gary saying much. We don't see her parents. I haven't. If you have, can you give a shout out in the chat? I haven't seen anybody say anything. The news around Princess Kate has been pretty quiet. And so even with the kiddos, we don't see them reported in the news much. And to me, it's a bit scary. I know that, yeah, it's really scary about how a person can just disappear without any real insight. And the only thing that we get is that they're not going to appear again for another year. And that can be, if we allow this to happen, that thing can continue into next year, the following year, until pretty soon people have forgotten. And it seems like they have all the power, they hold all the cards because they have of the contract that they have with the media, that the media is controlling the narrative allegedly with the royal family. And they've done with Princess Meghan. The media is working, it seems, in sync with the royal family. And so whatever stories get told around Prince Harry and Princess Meghan get told through the lens of the royal family. And what happens is we hear what they want to say about Meghan and Harry, they say it in the press. Whatever it is, whatever salacious, whatever made up, whatever stories, whatever angle. And so, like, if you control the press, do you control the universe? That's what it feels a bit like. If you live in the UK, You guys can let us know. If you control the press in the UK, it seems like you control the universe, especially with respect to what's happening in the UK. Because again, all of the media that ever gets reported about Meghan, I'll say 90% of it, what gets reported about Prince Harry, same thing gets reported through the lens of what it seems like the royal family wants the story to be. And so it is their story, it is their creation. Harry is in the image of their creation. He is not himself. And so we don't see a lot of pushback. I haven't seen a lot of pushback in the media around, hey, no, actually, this is Prince Harry. Until relatively recently, we start to see, for whatever reason, there's a hole in my heart, there's a hole in our hearts the size of Harry, and there's a kind of campaign that seems like it's starting to bubble up around wanting their prince back, right? Because he was always the favorite prince. Hello, Professor Zinzi, everyone just getting back from the YMCA. Okay. Would love Meghan to host Angela on the new archetypes. Would not that be wonderful, right? Would not that be wonderful to hear Angela in her own words? Because you get so little. It would be lovely to take, has anybody been to Liechtenstein, first of all? And if you have, what is the news like over there around Princess Angela? Because we get very, very little. And I don't know if that's by design or if that's also because when Angela was becoming the princess, we didn't have social media. It did not exist in the same way that it does right now. And so she was able to get through her role relatively, easily. But if Angela went on archetypes, or if Meghan has another podcast or any podcast, I think she would blow up. I don't know that she wants that, but I would certainly love to have more information around Princess Angela, because I think her story is just lovely. She and her husband have managed to stay married for a long, long time. They've raised, one beautiful child. I don't know if she negotiated that with her husband, like, I'm going to do one and that's all you get, or what that story is, and to find out, like, what are some more of the palace intrigue? Like, what do we not, we don't know a whole lot. And if you know something about Princess Angela, please put it in the chat. Hi, hi, Sylvia. Yeah, because I just think that story, and what it would be lovely to see, what's his name? Monaco. Oh gosh, his name's not coming to me. But the prince, now the king of Monaco, and he had a child with an African model, and the child is living in New York right now and working in New York. Son of Grace Kelly. It would be interesting to see that mother too, though she's not a princess. And I think that child was their son is the oldest son, and the fact that he did not inherit the monarchy from his dad. And I think the people in the media, reporters, almost made him have to claim the kiddo. And now he's one of the most famous royals in the world, right? Maybe we'll do a story on them sometime, especially if I can find an angle where they intersect, where they certainly intersect around, the racial part and being descendants of Africa. So that'd be really cool. But yeah, to see Princess Angela and to hear her in her own words, I think we deserve that. I think the world deserves to have her story told. She's also an American princess, right? Lived here, worked here, educated here, and then met her prince when she was doing her work. Beautiful, brilliant. She and Meghan intersect along the lines of lovers of art, brilliant women, because why would he's having a conversation with her at an art gallery and falls in love. And then, they get married and they have their kiddo, right? Yeah, Angela is she is beautiful, a year younger than Doria, and born in 58. Absolutely stunning. I'll change pictures so you guys can see. Here's another one where she's happy and she's looking very, very elegant, right? 66. Yep, she's looking very, very, I think her birthday's February 2nd. I might be wrong. Don't quote me. I did the research, not today, but if my memory serves me, and it may not, I believe she was born around February 2nd. And so, he looks so like the same thing with him. I'm not saying she gave him a glow up because I think he was well loved by his family, Princess Marie. And so, but he definitely has the same kind of glow that I see Prince Harry has, and like the way he looks at his wife and the way he looks at his kiddo. For me, I see it, right? So here we'll she's smiling. He's like right there with his baby, like, we're walking, we're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, and we are vibing and we are happy and beautiful people. I like this picture, and I love the boots. I'm a boot person. And so, there she is, there he is, walking and just being happy in each other's presence. So yeah. Let's see. Did I have this one again reminds me of Meghan for some reason. I think because I understand Meghan had braces, and Princess Angela has like a tiny gap in the middle of her teeth. And I think they have a similar face shape and they wear their hair in a kind of similar way, right? I think, yeah, and he looks handsome too. Like, you can tell like the way he's squeezing her. I think I can by the way he's squeezing her and holding her. I feel the love in this photograph between the two, and she's just smiling so brightly and so warmly, being happy to be next to her sweetheart right there, right? And then their child that they managed to grow up, and he's beautiful, he's happy, he looks beautiful and happy, but he also looks like, he's getting up here doing a eulogy, eulogizing someone. So this also reminds me of, or makes me think about, that this is likely the way our Princess Duchess is raising her kiddos, to be strong, to be confident, to be able to do the work that's in front of them, to be able to look back, to look forward as a person that we love has passed on and becomes an ancestor. So I see this in him too, right? So let's see. And then like we see this too, like it begins here with the love between the kiddos and their parents. And like each of them, like look at Harry looking at Lily. The sun is slightly in his eyes and she's just doting on him, right? So we see that, and then we see Meghan, and she's also glowing with Prince Archie and just holding on to him and loving on him at the same time. So yeah, I think for me, I think it's just beautiful. So let's see. So we'll go back to 1 second. Yeah, this one again. We don't get a lot from Montecito, but when we do get it, we look at their faces and we see, and this is a different pose. We see this time Harry's holding Prince Archie in a different kind of way, and Meghan is holding Princess Lily, right? Normally we see Harry carrying Lily and Meghan carrying Big Archie. But they just look like they're filled with so much love and joy, and how wonderful for them. So let's see. Again, and so to hear Angela in her own words be able to tell her story, what do you guys think that her story would be? What do you think she might include? Any thoughts about that? So let's see what you guys are saying. Instead of putting Camilla out to oh no, Mary, really? You think that? Ooh. Well, that's one way to do it, right? Allegedly. She has, she's, I don't know if she's here or like, sorry, what did I just do? It's something I didn't mean to it. Hold on, there we are. So we'll go back to our poem. Once in America, land of dreams and might, lived Angela and Meghan, stars burning bright, descendants of Africa with roots held tight. Their story of love and struggles take flight. Right. So yeah, we saw them both leave their native countries after they fell in love. One went on a blind date, the other one met at an art gallery, both of them being kind of artists, and met princes. Both of them met princes and from Europe, and ended up getting married. Has she vanished, or has she been vanquished? The invisible princess who is omnipresent, seen everywhere but nowhere, and isn't, I know you guys are like, later for that, but you know me. You guys by now know me that I still feel a sense of, and I think lots of you do too, like of worry and around this disappearance. Because it's just like, how in the world? It reminds me of what empires used to do, and apparently these things, there's still this kind of power. And I hope that everything's okay. And yet, I don't think that it is, because whatever it is, if it is a, if it's a gone girl allegedly, or if it's a divorce, if it's a kind of psychotic break and mental breakdown, if it is, whatever it is, it's, if it's the, and they say it's the C word, if it's cancer, whatever it is a lot. And all of the alternatives, it seems, are better than the one that's kind of the gone girl, right? So again, Angela's journey. Angela, an artist with vision and grace, met Prince Maximilian in New York, a magical place. In galleries bright, their hearts intertwined, an artful romance beautifully designed. And when you think about when Princess Meghan and Prince Harry met, like, they were in a kind of dark, moody space too, having drinks and, hanging out on a blind date, right? So I think that their stories, their love stories, kind of intersect in that way. They're both in moody spaces, and one of them set up, but both of them see their girl, and they're like, oh, I want this thing to be more than just this thing, and they work really hard to keep it and to maintain it. And Harry has said often, we have to let's get our diaries. We've got to do this again. What are you doing tomorrow? And from there they took that trip to Botswana and had, I think it was a week in Botswana where they were able to be together and discover the thing that they probably believed they knew from the beginning, that this thing is ordained by the universe. This thing is ordained by God. This is the kind of love that I've never had. And how do we, people who live on in different continents, literally, people from completely different backgrounds, how do we come together? You're an American, I'm from the UK and all of that. How do we make this thing work? And they figured it out, right? They made their story. And against all odds, it is working. So Angela, to Liechtenstein she traveled, her new royal domain, with castles and gardens where love would remain. Her Panamanian roots in fashion displayed, in the quiet of Liechtenstein her spirit it stayed. Max and Angela in a world serene, with their son Alphonse living a dream. And then here we go. We have to always get to that part. Why is it that we always have to get to that part? Is that just the story of women? Is that the story of women from ethnic backgrounds? Why do we have to get to that part? The part where we are told that we do not belong in certain spaces. So behind the calm, whispers did stir. Can she fit in? They'd often refer. And just a shout out to Princess Angela, because we don't know enough about her story. And yet we know enough about her story to know that it was a story of pain. It was a story of, I love this man. It was a story of, you don't belong here, allegedly. It was a story that contained all the usual elements of things that are often told to women of African descent, right? And yet, and yet also that whole thing, this thing that comes about that people credit African women of African descent with, is that whole strong thing. But don't you get tired of having to have that same old narrative? You're strong. Yeah, who wants to be strong? Who wants to have to go through trauma to see that I'm strong? I just want to live a soft life. I want to live a soft life, right? So the princess, okay, who was seen everywhere. Yes, and isn't that wild that we see her everywhere and nowhere at the same time, right? And so the stories seem to align around that. She was sighted, and yet, when you go and you go there to look, there's no evidence that she was there. And every magazine I pick up, or every internet magazine that I search, says there was a sighting, and there's usually a question mark, or there's never a photograph. I guess they learned their lesson from the Franken photographs that they put out. And so they decided not to do that anymore. We're not going to do that. We're just going to say there was a sighting. But, we recall that last sighting where we saw her, the woman who was not her, I believe, allegedly, who was skipping through the market with a person who looked like her husband, right? And then we find out, or the next day, we don't ever find out, they never give us clarity that actually that wasn't them. But when you do a closer examination, a kind of microscopic examination, you see that the bones on the face are different, the height is different, the chin is different, the cheeks are different. And so it doesn't walk like a duck, doesn't talk like a duck, doesn't whatever like a duck. So it must not be a duck. But again, that thing is never clarified. And is that because of the contract with the UK media? I think perhaps, right? And so while all of this stuff is going on, what do you see reported in the media? Meghan, 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 Meghan. And then someone brought up in the chat last night, they were talking about, and Princess Meghan was asked to not do anything while this whole thing is going on, right? So Princess Meghan is supposed to be silent. Princess Meghan is supposed to sit somewhere with her hands crossed and raise her kids and not do any charity work, not do any grief work, not do any, work around, even Prince Harry, work around Invictus or whatever that they happen to be doing in order to honor Princess Kate. You guys sit over there, be quiet, and don't take up any space in the media, which is what gets translated to me. Like, we don't want you in newspapers. But then if you don't want them in newspapers, if you don't want them in media, why do you tell media all of these salacious stories that are not true? You don't want them to show up, and simultaneously, I guess if they have to show up, they're going to be framed through our lenses. And the way that American media is starting to follow the same playbook, and I'm sure that it is because Rupert Murdoch is owning a lot of these things, right? Like the Post and other newspapers, and these stories, what happens, sites like Huffington Post don't pay for people to write stories. They just take the articles. Sites like YouTube take the same articles because they don't have journalists that are doing these things in this way, and they just regurgitate the exact same thing and give you a link to that newspaper, give you a link to that website that says this thing, which is all salacious and negative. And I'm like, can we do better than that in this country? I don't get how, and again, I don't typically listen to YouTube or watch YouTube because I feel like, allegedly it's become a kind of cesspool. And when you go there, it's all, tabloid news that is just something that I just don't like to take in intentionally. And at the same time, this is what people are taking in and these things. So when you talk to a person who says this X thing, Y thing about Princess Duchess Meghan, that it's like, okay, I get it. Now I get it. And so newspapers in the US also, media sources want to be able to make money. And so what do? They report on the most salacious things. And it's almost like, well, it is like that she's been dehumanized to the point that we don't care. She's an object for profit. And so we are going, instead of being, organizations that are going to defend and put out different stories, they're going to also take the easy route and put out salacious materials and get clickbait. Oh, we're going to get click, 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 right? And then though when you read, and I don't anymore, but when you read these stories, you always see an element of, is this true? Like, oh, according to sources, according to this, or a question mark that is saying, okay, we don't know that this is true for sure, but we got you to click, and we got you to stay, and we got you to look at this ad while you were here. And so our clicks went up, and so therefore our revenue is going up. And so they're literally monetizing lies and pain, allegedly, with respect to the Princess Duchess Meghan. And it's pretty, I'm just like Erykah Badu. I'm getting tired of that ish, right? It is just so much. And it's like, she's become a commodity. And it's like, and that's why we exist. Again, that's why the Sussex Squad exists, in order to push back against these terrible narratives that are being put out there intentionally, because they want to cover often, because that is the job of the Spare, right? And so Prince Harry talked about this again in Spare. He talked about him being the person who's supposed to be the mess up, him being the person who's supposed to take all of the grief, so that, if he's doing that and they're able to report on him messing up, messing around, like at parties, hanging out with whatever, people, then then the prince can do whatever the prince wants to do, because we have this person who was really born to just in case in a lot of ways. And so we're going to use him this way, and we're going to hold up Prince William, which is pretty sad, because here's the thing that they didn't count on with respect to Prince Harry. They didn't count on him meeting a woman like Meghan. They didn't count on him meeting I'm going to say, kind, compassionate first, and then I'm going to say a brilliant. Because Meghan, when I hear conversations, when I read her New York Times articles around losing a child, whatever it is, when I hear Meghan in her own words, it's like that MC Hammer song, Can't Touch This. They cannot touch her brilliance. They cannot touch any part of her mind. Like when we see her when she's 11 years old on that Ivory campaign, writing saying, hey, this is sexist. She is changing and shifting the world at age 11 in ways that adults don't, the average, that most of us will never do. And so not only is Ivory changing their campaign, I think it was Ivory, around the dishwashing liquid, but this thing is also being publicized. And when we see her, when I saw that she was an 11-year-old kid, I'm like, oh, okay, you go, little girl. And when I find out in 2016 that this is the same person, I am not surprised, because I think Harry, clearly he fell in love with who she is as a person. And who she is as a person includes not only her physical beauty, but it includes her beautiful mind, her beautiful heart, her beautiful compassion. All of these things, these are the things that he fell in love with. And so what can the media do? It is like a political campaign. It is not unlike a political campaign in the way that it is targeted. And when I've asked people about, like, have you ever seen this before, right? They say, yeah, I've seen this before with political figures. And I would say that's maybe 25% true. I have never seen the kind of targeted hate against a non-political figure. And like even for breathing and holding a baby bump, right? Holding your child who is moving and growing and kicking and loving and learning and who wants you maybe to touch that baby back. I'm in here, Mama, are you here? I don't feel you right now. I just want to feel your touch. You sound like Mama, I don't hear your voice right now. You're inside. I'm inside of here, and I connect to your voice. And maybe I can't talk right now, but I can hold my baby, and let my child that is inside of me know that I'm here, that you are not alone, right? And so in the way that she was connecting in her child, those things were vilified. Why does she hold that? And it was almost like, not even almost, it was like Archie was not a human being also when he was inside of her body, when she was, making him that baby that love made. And he was being made literally inside of her, taking a lot of her energy so that she could. And so when she dared to caress her baby, when she dared to caress her child that she and her husband that love made, what did they do? They attacked her. They attacked her for that thing, right? Meghan did look so beautiful with her baby fat, right? And Meghan showed her baby fat after that baby was born, and it's like, oh, she's just glowing. She looked tired, and she looked also simultaneously energetic at the same time. She had just dropped that kiddo, and it's like, okay, we want to see that baby. We want to see the pictures. She was not a young woman having a baby, and young women who have babies have trouble. She was a woman in her mid-30s having a kid, and we couldn't give her enough grace to be able to have a few days. They took a couple of days anyway. And she presented herself the way she, hugging on her husband and loving on her husband and him, holding and all of these things. And what happens? That same child that she held inside of her body for 9 months, they had to have on display the one that they vilified around her caressing. And that just like every time I think about it, it gives me a kind of kind of the blues, if you will. Like, how does a society decide to turn on its citizens in a way that we dehumanize them to the point that we cause SI, and we are culpable. I don't mean you and I, but I mean when we engage in these stories and we don't push back, when we just click and say, okay, it's okay to dehumanize this person, even as we see her saying uncle, even as we see her saying I can't. And when I say uncle, most of you know, if you're here for the first time, shout out to you guys in the chat. But if you're so when you say uncle, it's like you play these games, it's like, okay, uncle, or someone's tickling you. That was my experience as a kiddo, like, okay, uncle, I have had enough. And she was not even allowed to say uncle. When she was asked about how are you doing mentally, and emotionally, and she almost cried, never complain, never explain. But you could see she was holding herself together with whatever kind of tape that she could use to shore herself up and still have to go out here in those streets to speak publicly, because we pay you. We pay you for your information, and we want you to present yourself. But we don't see the same kind of smoke for other people in that family. We see it for Meghan, and we see it even more so than we see it for Prince Harry, right? We see it for Princess Meghan. And we will dehumanize you on every level. We will tell you what your place is. But they forgot. This is a brilliant, beautiful woman, and they did not count on the squad. They did not count on you. They did not count on me standing up for her, right? And that is exactly what we did. Yes, Meghan broke that conveyor belt for Prince Harry. And, we see like how many people, and I know I've said this before, who will stand up and carry this flag? Who will? Who will stand up and carry this flag for Duchess Meghan? We did. We were like, no, not today. Not today, Satan, if you will, allegedly, right? Not today. We are not going to allow you to harm this person or have this person feel like that the only way for the pain to stop is if they personally go away, right? And so we stood up, we carried the flag, and she is here today, thriving in Montecito. And again, we see a similar story with, maybe not to the same degree, but we see a similar story that happened with Princess Angela. And now look at her thriving. And I think that it will be the same kind of story that we have seen in this country, that, and other countries that persist. And then at a certain point, I think there will be a shift. So, Martin Luther King, the most hated man in America. When you ask those same people who had that same rancor, that same contempt, why? Why do you hate him? They can't explain. They couldn't explain it then. Why they had this feeling around, I don't like that man. I think part of it has to do with there's a convergence around them. Stay in your place, right? You don't belong. You belong in a role of servitude. Do not challenge the status quo. It makes me uncomfortable. And Meghan, again, I'm not comparing her in a way like in the work that she's done specifically to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And I am at the same time, because both of them could have had similar ends, right? And they were persecuted because other people, in my belief, right, allegedly, they were persecuted because people didn't think that they belonged either doing the thing that they were doing with respect to getting people engaged in a system so that they could get themselves free, or showing up in a system and breaking that system apart in a way that says that anybody can fit in here, right? And I mean, and I don't mean like you still, if you're coming as an outsider and you're going to try and fit into a family like that, you better be 10 times better. You better work 10 times as hard, or at least 2-3 times. Well, no, I'm going to keep 10 times as hard. And that number's probably too small. If you are going to be a member of that family and you're going to be an outsider, you better come in and be able to show them your smoke. And what did she do? She came in with the Grenfell Tower fires. She came in and did the cookbook. She came in, she did so much work around. And what do you get after the cookbook? Oh, the cookbook is tied to, terrorism. And I'm just like, you guys are stupid, allegedly, right? And then, after she's gone, who do you see showing up at Grenfell Tower with the same people that Meghan was maligned around helping? Oh, Prince William, what are you doing here? Right? What are you doing here? We thought that Princess Meghan, was aligning herself. But when you do it, it's something else. When you do it, the focus becomes something significantly different. Let's see. But promoting the negative channels with advertisements, promoting negative channels. And then there's something about Meghan. Meghan also has a book she wrote at 10 years old, lodged in the Library of Congress. Yes, remember when they tried to say it was about freckles, right? Something about like her freckles on the face, a face without freckles, or if you guys know what the title was, say that. That is a tribute to her. That is a tribute to who she was allowed to be. And we've talked about the story of Doria and how Doria decided she was going to raise her child, even though she had some regrets, right? Because people will make you have regrets. She was raised in a way that allowed her to be a free thinking, wonderful person, right? So she was able to think and not focus on challenges around what other people's perceptions of her or what they might be eventually. So yeah, a little girl writing a book, right? That is in the Library of Congress. Princess Meghan's strength and power moves mountains and changes things. Absolutely. If you have the power to create a squad without even asking for it, if you have the power to raise a beautiful child, and in her case, beautiful children. When I heard Queen Elizabeth say, or heard Harry say that his grandmother said, sweetest children, you know what I wondered? Tell me if I wondered how many other children she said that about in that family. Did anybody else have that same thought? Like, sweetest children. You can see the kiddos in the way they are, that they are being raised in a certain way. Like when you see them out in the garden with chickens and puppies, when you see them, having a simple kind of birthday celebration, not an over the top money can buy, I'm going to spend, and the kids are going to be dressed to the nines. No, we're going to make the most beautiful memories. And what are the kids going to remember about this day? They're going to remember daddy holding them. They're going to remember playing with the doggy. When they look at pictures, they're going to see a simple birthday cake. And, well, the birthday cake wasn't simple, but they're going to see a birthday cake on a simple table inside of a yard where the whole design around that birthday celebration is to love on and celebrate each other. And that's what the thing is. I think those are the things that they teach us. I think the lessons of Duchess Meghan and Princess Angela are, loving on each other's families and shining, persisting, like we've heard Maxine Waters say. And now it's a kind of thing that if you watch anything in Congress, reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time. Meghan has been allowed to reclaim her time in a space of Montecito, California, that is beautiful, that is about 73 degrees every day of the year, with slight variations. She's been allowed to live a life with her and make beautiful children and beautiful memories with her husband. And she and Princess Angela, have had divergent paths. But I think ultimately, even though their paths have diverged, the result has been the same. They have both loved on their husbands. They have both loved on their children. Or in Princess Angela's case, she has one child, but they have loved on children, loved on their husbands, and been able to live beautiful, happy lives, right? And so, yeah, Meghan, the actress from Hollywood's fame, met Prince Harry sparking love's bright flame. A blind date set up by a friend so dear led to a romance that quickly became clear. And what became clear? Right? Princess Meghan's strength and power move mountains and changes things. Um, Thank you, Karen, right? That's what we were taught. Thank you, Sylvia. Yeah, so we see this. We see it in the way she moves. We see it in the way she exists. We see it in the way she loves. Like there's this light that comes from Meghan, and we see it in the glow up that her husband gets. We see it in the smile of her child. And I think again, I think it intersects really well with Princess Angela's story. Yet Angela with dignity faced the doubt, her art and kindness, what life was about. Though media's eyes rarely turned her way, her legacy of love continues to stay. She's still with, Prince Maximilian, right? Today in Liechtenstein. She has been with him for probably 30 years, maybe 25, 30 years. And marriages have challenges, and yet, what shines through is their love and commitment to each other. What shines through is that she's still over there being a princess and doing the work that she was doing and loving her child and her husband, right? And Meghan is doing the same thing, though she's not there. She understood in herself that she needed to take a step back. And so when you see other people now, they don't get the same parallel treatment. When we hear the news that says Princess Catherine has to step back, you don't see a kind of controversy around that thing, like, around the stepping back. Or Prince William has to step back because it is framed through a lens of compassion and kindness. No matter what, the way that Prince William's life is framed is very different than the way Prince Harry's life is framed. And yet at the same time, simultaneously, there's a claim of like, we love him. We love him. We want him to return. We don't want her to return. So we've seen that too. And what was his decision? One, he chose love. He chose his wife. He chose his kiddos. And every time we see him, he looks like he's glowing. And so he was forced, right, to leave the UK for the sake of his wife. They tried to say, you know what, she's not doing well right now. We need to step back to take care of her and to take care of our baby for a while. We will still do work. And at the same time, like a lot of people take mental health breaks from work. We need to take a mental health break. We need to not do as much work. Oh no, this is a perfect opportunity, allegedly, for you to just get out. We don't want you here in the media. We don't want you sucking up all the spotlight. And then what happens? It doesn't matter where Meghan and Harry go in the world. You're going to see all of the UK, all of the usual suspects from the BM. You're going to see all the BM there, right? The BM, taking up all the space that they can, right? Buying photographs from people who are allowed in, allegedly, for these royals that they say were not important. Yet you follow them all the way to Nigeria. Everywhere they go, and then you get mad when you don't get invited to any space where they exist. And so, they are in Nigeria, these two royals who are unroyal, who don't matter. Why are you there then? Why are you following them around, everywhere they go? Because you've commodified them, right? Because they are the only ones that sell newspapers. They are, to the degree that they sell, to the degree that they get press, they are the ones that we've been waiting for. We are here. We are all here in the squad because they are the ones we were waiting for. We were waiting for them to show up in all their, wonderfulness. And when they were maltreated, we stood up. We're not standing up in the same way. And quite a few people are like, nah, I ain't on that no more. I don't want to talk about that other one. I don't want to hear about that other one. I don't want to see her. Like, so I hear it and I see it like, nah, I'm good. Or, on that one. And, at the same time, you're not going to get a million people standing up for you to say these things, to speak back to the press, to speak back to a family who would say, like, what's your evidence? What's y'all's evidence against this woman? What's y'all's evidence against Prince Harry? You ain't got none. Because all of the thinly veiled, all of the thin material you have, it don't amount to nothing but a hill of beans. Right? I don't like her because, why? I can't put my finger on it. But there's something about her that, It just doesn't sit well with me, right? Really? Did your mama teach you that? Did your papa teach you that? Like, where, you know, what does it feel like? What does it look like? I can't quite say. Well, you remember that she was eating those avocados, and remember when she, like, I have not heard nothing about the Duchess that has made any sense around why people have the thoughts on her that they have, except that it's a targeted media campaign that started with the UK royal family, the BM royal, I mean, the BM, right, to get her to sit down and be quiet, to get her to not have any room, like, in the spotlight. It was a targeted campaign, and for some people it worked, but for, I'm going to say allegedly, for thinking people, no. We see it. You want that shine that she has. She's got that thing. And like a lot of political campaigns, what they do is use your greatest strengths against you. What are her greatest strengths? Compassion, kindness, loyalty, love, love as a mother, a daughter, a wife, all of these things, as a friend. And what do? Oh, she's a bully. They do the opposite. I've seen it in so many presidential campaigns. Whatever your greatest strength is, they will use it against you. Oh, he is arrogant. Oh, he didn't get into that college by his own merit. Oh, they take your life. Oh, he wasn't born here. Oh, she's not Nigerian. How many folks is out here trying to claim to be Nigerian? I mean, just like, it wouldn't matter what she claimed. Nigerian, Ghanaian, whatever set she rapped, like, you can say she from Compton, right? When she's from Baldwin Hills, which is in the same city, you can drive there while you're in LA, and the difference is staggering, right? Baldwin Hills versus, Compton. Compton is like a bit different these days, but when Meghan was coming up, very different than it is today, right? So you want to malign her by saying that she's from Compton, but when she claims her set as Nigeria, then you got something to say about that too. Y'all just want to tear this woman down, right? You just want, and you think you can control everybody, but everybody ain't out here trying to hear that, right? Some of us are like, no, not today. We see you. We saw the same thing with respect to President Barack Obama when he was running for president. Show me your papers. Show me your apartheid papers. Where your birth certificate at? Your mama was married at 16 around, and you think she sneaked out of the country, the only child of her parents? This little white girl, this little Caucasian girl sneaked out of the country at around 16, 17 when she's pregnant, and sneaked into Kenya to have Barack Obama, and then sneaked back into the United States. Never had a passport at that time, right? Her mother's only child, her father's only child, they're going to let their 16 to go to Kenya for what? And then Meghan claiming, Nigerian blood, 43%. Sade is 50% Nigerian. Her daddy is from Nigeria, right? I think she's lighter than Meghan is. Like, what is it about her that you were trying to say is not 43% African? I don't know. Right? She didn't claim to be 80%. She said 43%. And we see the same thing with Shannon Sharpe. If you came from a particular region, we talked about the triangular slave trade in here before, right? They went from Africa to Europe to whatever part of South Carolina or Alabama, whoever was importing human beings. And the majority of those ships traveled in those same lines over and over and over and over again. And that's why people from Grenada who have African ancestry come from a particular place. That's why people in Jamaica have a lot of Nigerian blood, because the triangular slave trade, we read about it when I was in, middle school and high school. That's where the ships went. They picked up the sugar in Jamaica, right? And that's why those, that's why those folks like to call people who are supporters of Meghan sugars, because they're saying that we are, we existed as people who are enslaved on sugar plantations. I see you out there. I see y'all out here trying to be racist on the slide. We're smart. We know these things because our lives depend on it. We know what sugars are. You ain't slick. but say it to our face, right? But we understand that Meghan is more than that. She's 43% Nigerian. Why would she lie? And just like Shannon Sharp said, his people, if the majority of people that are going to those plantations, and that's what that region is made up of. We have a whole town called Africa Town right now in Alabama, where the last slave ship, the Clotilda, was taken because of a bet. Questlove's people are from there, and most of the people in that town are descendants of the people who were on that ship. Check it out, in Alabama, Africa Town, right? Zora Neale Hurston, one of the most beloved writers who existed, wrote about it, right? And she interviewed the person who was the last living enslaved person to her knowledge, around that she could get, who was on that ship, who was brought here in the 1860s based on a bet. Why is it called Africa Town? Because they were all on that ship. So you're saying that the people from there, who are Black people, if you will, all have, the ancestry of the people who were in the region that they were taken from. If they're on that ship and it was from Benin, if you will, the people of Africa Town have Benin ancestry. What does Questlove, the DJ, it's from that place. His people are from that place. So if Questlove says, I have 90% ancestry because my family has been in this region, how many of our families have stayed in a particular region, particular state for generations, right? So it makes sense to me. Since Princess Meghan and the other royal family changed the way they did things, a lot of them are now outgoing and coming out more in the limelight and having a voice there following Princess Meghan. Amen. I hope to see Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice out here. And of course, they're being maligned too. Like, oh, they're over here there with those traitors. How? Because they love their cousins? Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie were raised around Prince Harry and Prince William. A lot of families come up with cousins who are like siblings. Like, what y'all messing with them for? Because they're not toting the family line? Because you want them to hate their cousin? Allegedly, y'all want Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice to say, you know what, deuces to Harry. They love them both. And if you're a person, you can see what the slight is. And I believe that it harms them too, to watch Prince Harry and his wife be targeted, Princess Meghan be targeted in this way. And then when we see them together at a Super Bowl or at a concert or wherever we see them laughing and giggling like cousins / siblings, because there weren't many in that family that were their age. If there are 4 to 6 of you who are in the same age bracket, I have that in my family. Y'all act more like siblings than y'all do cousins. Yeah, because we're always at grandmama house. Like, where y'all going? We're going over to grandmommy house. Okay? And it was grandmommy house. Like, that's what it was. We're going over to grandmommy house. We're going to do this and this and this. And we're going to catch fireflies. We call them lightning bugs. We're going to go out to the creek. We're going to go catch whatever things. We're going to go home and wash our hands. And grandmommy is going to make some beans and mix some peas, some potatoes, some pig fat into those things. And then she's going to make some whatever. She's going to make a feast every single day. And it's going to be on the table, and we're going to be at grandma's house. And that's the same thing that I imagine Prince William and Prince Harry grew up with respect to their cousins. So y'all want them to come out and say we hate our cousin? For what? So y'all can sell newspapers? Like, if there's a sigh, if Beatrice or Eugenie happen to be sitting next to Harry or Meghan, and they happen to sigh, like, just based on something, we don't know what they're talking about, then that gets reported in the news as if it is something bigger than what it is, right? If whatever, they make a side eye about something, like, we do this in conversations because 90% of what we say is not through verbal communication. It is why when we look at a photograph, we can make an interpretation, or we think we can, but you're talking about like a fraction of a second, and you want to use that fraction of a second to define how these people feel about their cousin, right? When these kids, these people just want to be at grandmommy house, eating whatever that there is and hanging out and playing and catching fireflies or whatever their rituals were. Because for a lot of us, when we are with our cousins, we become whatever age we were when we were when we're with them. Like, so when I'm with my cousins, I become like a 12 or 13-year old. Like, okay, you guys are goofy. It doesn't matter if you're 45 or 55 or 65 or 75 or 85 or 95 or whatever five. When you get back with your cousins, the game is typically, the way that we move is typically to behave the way you did when you were kids, because you are always perpetually a child when you're around your family. And it doesn't matter how old my nieces or my nephew gets. You know, I one just graduated from high school. I don't care. When you're 40, you're going to still be a little boy. Little boy. Yes, bring me a glass of water. And so what we do, or not us, but what happens in the media, they just want to sell newspapers. They don't care about who Meghan and Harry is. They care about whatever narrative is going to sell their papers. And they have decided that they're going to target Princess Meghan. And you know what? Squad got something to say, right? We got something to say, and we're not going to go gently into that good night. And we are going to tell the stories of Princess Meghan and Princess Angela in a way that is true and authentic, and in the way that they deserve to have these stories told. In the same way that you would deserve to have a story told about you. These are human beings who are worthy and who are deserving of love and who put love and light out into the universe. And all you want to do is sell newspapers. We saw what happened to Princess Diana. And all y'all want to do is get clicks on y'all's websites. And what happens to a population when all we do is click? Negativity. We get a negative bias. Our brain is already automatically wired with a negative bias. And so when all you do is, click, 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 and it gets more salacious, and all you're doing is clicking these stories that are making you feel more hate, what does it do for you internally? Like, you become traumatized and wounded by vicarious trauma. Is that the kind of world y'all want to, y'all want to live in? We want to live in. Do we want to live in a world where it is framed entirely in trauma, in negativity, in bias, in meanness, and cruelty? I don't think so. And we understand that this is not who the people that we talk about, that we align ourselves with. And we also understand that it is necessary for us to have to clap back at the same time. Like, we can't just exist and love on and try and follow our faves. No, we always got to be talking back to these, folks in the media who always got some lies to spew around the Duchess, around Harry, around the kid. Even they're trying to target the kids these days. Like, these are babies. Sit down. They're following in Princess Meghan's footsteps. She demands change. Now all those other princesses, yes, yes, yes. And so they are, and good for them, right? Good for them. I would like to know, though, if what they got to say about what's going on in their family. Because we ain't heard none of them step up and say, this is what's going on. We haven't heard any leaking around. Is it because they have concern over, like, we don't know. What I understand is they want us to shut up and allow her to be hurt. No, dog, not today. Not no day, right? You don't get to hurt the people that we love and we not send for you, right? No. We understand. We see what you're doing. And if, grandmama ain't here, grandmommy ain't here no more, but she's here. And the things that she taught me, they're here with me, right? She taught me to stand up for people who could not stand up for themselves. She taught me good from bad, right from wrong. She taught me to be compassionate and to love people. And she said, when somebody says something, you, in that moment, you say something. Don't wait. And I'm not saying we always are perfect around that, because sometimes we get hurt and we can't speak in that moment. But as soon as you can, speak up for people. And that's what we do. And that's why we are the squad. That's why we enjoy stories around Princess Angela, who's winning. And, even question, like, why y'all gotta mess with our fave? Because what? You have a fantasy You know, people will say that Angela Levin allegedly has a fantasy around thinking that she can marry this man, right? You can marry a man who's 30 years younger than you, or you can choose who he's with. And so if you can't have him, or if he can't be with somebody that you choose for him, I interviewed him for 15 months. What that mean? What that mean that you interviewed him for 15 minutes? How many times did you sit with him? Did you break bread with him? Did he love on you in a way that was human, or was it a journalistic relationship where he was polite and he gave you some statistics and facts and told you about some current events and things that were happening in his life that he wasn't revealing to anybody else? What was that relationship? Like, you think it was allegedly a certain kind of relationship, but that don't mean it was, because like he said, they think they know me. They think they know me. And Angela, you will be called a troll, every 100 interviews or so. When you think that you're going to be there for one purpose, somebody's going to call you out. Somebody whose grandmama raised them to let people know when they're wrong is going to call you out, because that's what we were taught, that's what we're supposed to do. We're going to have to start calling them out. These people are raving. Yes, I wish they would stop asking Meghan to speak about Kate. They forget their claim that she did not like. Yeah, absolutely. And they forget that they say that at the same time that Meghan has not gotten any information around what's happening for fear that she might tell the press. So why y'all asking? Y'all don't want her to have any information. And at the same time, you want her to answer for information that y'all say she ain't got. Somebody make that make sense, right? You say in one voice, she doesn't have any information because we've iced them out. Yay! 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 Right? They're iced out. They don't belong in this family. They have left. They've left the building. They've left the room. It is what we wanted. And simultaneously, where's Kate? What's happening with her? Like, what? And if she knew and happened to reveal something, then what are you going to do? You're going to persecute her for saying, I spoke with Kate this morning and she gave me permission to say she's happy and doing well. No, she can't say that. Even if she knows, even if Catherine released her to do it, what are you going? She's over there revealing family secrets. Right? I mean, her sister is on a forever vacation and she's said nothing about her sister. Yeah, I doubt Pippa and Kate are as close as they claim, because I would be at that palace castle. Absolutely. And, right? And thank you so much for that, Ron, or Roan. Is it Roan? And at the same time, if they have the kind of power that we believe, a lot of us believe they have, what can they do? Like, if she tries to speak about? Because we ain't even heard Gary out here in these streets saying nothing. Right? He's on, remember he was on Big Brother saying whatever he was big enough to say. Talking, like, how are you on Big Brother talking about the Duchess? How are you on Big Brother talking smack about her? What, like Piers Morgan obsessed much, allegedly? Mary Man, you got that shade. Pippa named her daughter Rose. That's, what would you do? What would you say to your sister? Like, what if she named her baby after, even if she's the alleged mistress, right? And she's, let's just say she's not that. But if you name your kid about somebody who people are saying is my husband's mistress, right? And I saw that with Jay-Z and Beyonce. Yeah, for all y'all Beyonce fans, I mean, I think she alright. And, we hate me if you want to. She's okay. Yeah, she's okay. But when Jay-Z, who dated Blue Cantrell, named their daughter Blue, like, dude, no, I would not. Not today, Satan. You will not be naming my child Blue. I don't care. This is one of your ex's names. No, I am not with that. desperate low esteem, dutifully performed all the rituals, including acceptance. Oof. Wow, that is a thought. Like if you do all of these things, because we heard Prince Charles allegedly say, and my memory might be serving me wrong today, so I'm gonna say allegedly say I'm not going to be when he's talking about to Princess Diana. I think she might have said, so I heard it somewhere that he said I'm not going to be the first monarch in history not to have an affair or something along those lines, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. Allegedly, right? I remember these words, if I made them up in my own mind, being said, like, I'm not going to be. And then, your mistress, the one that is documented allegedly to have been your mistress and now your wife, is mentoring this girl. Diana was a girl. We needed a virgin princess, right? She's working in a daycare, being not gone to college. Like she went from doing this to marrying him, and he wasn't 16. He was nowhere close to being her age. So he's been schooled. He wasn't a virgin king or virgin prince, I imagine, right? Allegedly. And so he marries this young girl, and then she's being mentored allegedly by the mistress. That is diabolical. Absolutely. Yes. Ron, that's diabolical. That if my sister, like, man, she would be getting all the smoke from me. Like, for real? You you think you're gonna do that? Like, I would, yeah. Yeah, that wouldn't be. Pippa troll Kate by naming her Rose. That's a mess. That's a mess. Mary wants to know if you're a newer squatty, Ron. um, yeah, her daughter is named Rose. That's a mess. Whoa, they never speak about that. Woo, that is true. I did not realize that. Yes, yes, yes. I was like, wait, what? You, you let that man, like, I just, I would have something like, no, that couldn't be her middle name. That couldn't be with green eggs and ham. She wouldn't have it on Tuesday or Friday. Nope. Blue, nope, nope. Like, that would have to be a question once you brought that name up as a possibility. Have you ever had a girlfriend with this name? Like, I don't care if you like the name. Yeah, blue's a wonderful color. Happens to be my favorite, but you showing on like name no baby after whatever your ex is like. Come on, can you imagine what Blue felt like? Blue Cantrell, like, yeah, he still got it for me. Like they have Blue Ivy has to have that name every single day, and I'm sure some part of her mother has to understand that that name is also connected to another person that he happened to like the name well enough. It could have liked the characteristics of the woman enough to be, her partner for a time, right? And so, yeah, no, we ain't doing that. Squatties are also royal reporters, but better because we deal with facts without creating news. Absolutely. We do. We do. And we got them out here in these streets trying to find out who is the head of the Sussex Squad. Like, who's the head? The whole newspaper articles, TV shows with these themes. Who's the head of the squad? Like, really? Like, y'all think that there's actually one? No. No. He wrote them in his book, the one the UK press has forgotten he wrote. Man, we're royal reporters. Absolutely. The one where he claimed he wanted to be, oh, oh, the royal portrait. Can we say that? His royal portrait. He got what he wanted, like immortalized. He got that's immortalized for the whole world to see. What would King Charles look like as a device for Camilla, right? Oh, just those phone conversations. And how do you align yourself with people who will record you saying these things that are going to always be out there against your child, allegedly against your ex-wife? Now you want to be in there, you want to be in their media story, like you want them to talk about you. I don't understand. Like, make it make sense. Why would somebody like him really want the UK media, the BM media, why would you want to be a focus of what they're doing? Like, they went out there all the way, and then look at what happened to your ex-wife. look what happened to the mother of your children. And allegedly, all you really had was a squeeze on the knee, allegedly, right? Man, yes, he did. And thank God for the portrait. Because it reminds us of that with the monarch butterfly. Oh, this is a symbol of what? Like, are we stupid enough to believe that? Like, how many of us in this space believe that that monarch butterfly going through the metamorphosis is what is represented in that painting? Yeah, no, it's him going through some kind of metamorphosis. And it also looks like him causing great harm, if you will. Like, there's so much that can be inferred by that painting. And the monarch is sitting there, butterfly, looking very sneaky, right? And it is clear that that monarch butterfly has all the secrets, understands all the secrets. And he is very clearly also there looking like, a monthly device, right? Like, yeah, you need this. That is just, let's see. I heard Blue was not his daughter. Maybe he did it out of spite. Well, I think she has his jawline and stuff. So, hopefully she's his daughter. But he wouldn't have did that out of spite to me if she was my ex's daughter either, right? Allegedly. So, Pippa knows Rose Hanbury is full day and lives with his partner since I was born. Oh, yeah, I've heard that her husband is, and that would, if your partner, if you don't, so when you think of sexuality as a kind of spectrum, right? And people who have deals with their partners, especially older families around having children so that for the sake of inheritance, if that's the case, that's pretty scary. I don't think I could do that. I'm not really driven by money. So I couldn't I couldn't know that my partner is with somebody else, male or female, right? And not being with me. That just, yeah, no. I've heard those things too. The Invisible Princess said being around the Duchess was the most difficult thing. Is that right, Mary? Where'd you hear that? I don't remember the most difficult thing she's ever done. That's wild. How could being around, how? Like, did she expand? Is it because, again, in Spare, we heard, some of us read and heard that was a show they watched together and he was a little bit obsessed, allegedly, with Meghan's character on there, right? So if that's the case, if he's been like, oh, I would love to, can you imagine, like, when your partner likes somebody, like, for example, Idris Elba, right? Oh, I think him, or Denzel, or whomever, like, Jason Beckford, whatever, whoever the person is, George Clooney, if they and then they show up at your house, like, right? After having these because it was a show that I understand they watched religiously together. Gone and Forgotten. Oh boy. Pippa was upstaged. Yeah, because they were supposed to be, they wanted him for her, right? Harry for her. I meant David, Rose's husband, is full of, lives in France since I've heard some stories about him in those respects, right? That would be pretty sad. And do you guys think that she was, I know we understand that there was a person before or that he was in love with that said no. I wonder if they're similar. Like if they're like Rose and the ex, right? That's the part I still can't understand. Charles had to crazy out his bloody mind to do what he did to Princess Diana, having her being trained, but yes, to serve him, and they don't see exactly, and we don't hear about that. But like, oral history is a thing that when people pass it down and they're clear, that stuff don't go away, because it just doesn't, because we understand the way the stories make us feel. When we hear a story about a mistress mentoring a young wife, a young virgin wife, to make it even worse, like, she probably should, like, in my mind, she probably, right, was too young to be getting married in the first place. Didn't know him well enough. And there was this whole campaign around it. He knew he wanted somebody else. And so you get with this woman allegedly to bear your children. Your mother doesn't like her, allegedly, because of, for all of these things. She's married herself, and you have her mentor your new wife. That's like cruel and unusual punishment. That is the kind of punishment that, like, how did that prince? She didn't deserve that. And so then when you reject her son, or it looks like it, does he, like, how much does it matter when you know that somebody did your mama like a dog, allegedly? Does it matter that, I mean, you might, everybody has a different relationship with their parents. And for some people, it is the deeds that you do that show us that you love us. And when you don't do certain deeds, we ain't on you like that. Like, no, I'm good. Like, I will, of course, you have compassion, you have this and that. And you understand that this is not a person that is aligned with you in a certain way. And so hopefully Prince Harry has the presence of mind to separate himself from the actions of his only remaining biological parent. And the fact that his grandmother is gone, his grandfather's gone. He does have the Spencers, though, thankfully. Squatties will support Princess Di's loyal son, who did not call her paranoid. Yeah, how do you do that? My mother was paranoid. Really? Those words are there forever. And can we ask the same question? Is the mother of your children also paranoid? Can we extrapolate that you would use the word, since you use those words about your deceased mother, who died in a tunnel in a way nobody should have to? She didn't want to. She wanted to love and to be able to be there for her kiddos and her partner. And she was can you be paranoid and then the thing that you're paranoid about actually happen? Is that paranoia, or are you just bad with words? Is that paranoia, or are you just cruel? Are questions we can ask. Is that paranoia, or are you just a trash person, allegedly? How are you going to say those things about your mama? Knowing that she's no longer with us, knowing that your children are going to be able to hear these words over and over and over. Yeah, your daddy said this about your... Yeah. What do they do when they hear these words that you say? And what do we extrapolate? What can we take from your thesis about your mother and use to discuss you eventually? Because right now, things ain't looking good over there, in my mind. Right? Things are just not looking good with respect to, like, we ain't seeing the kids. We're not seeing the wife. We're seeing you show up at events, and there's, like, you look pretty shaky. And it ain't Parkinson's. Like, it ain't, we don't believe it's that. It looks like that there may be something else that has been taken in that is causing you to move in a certain way move your body in a certain way, right? And, dropping metals allegedly and things of that nature. And so when we're looking at you, we're not going to use the word paranoid. We might use another word that begins with a D and ends with a K, right? So when we see you dropping metals, you can't pin this thing on, you're like swaying, you are obsessed with your brother, you're pushing people into dog bowls, you're making up stories and allowing things to be, you got a niece and a nephew. You don't care about them? Like, I don't understand that. You have a whole niece and a whole nephew, and you don't spend any time with them. You don't, like, not even for the sake of those babies. What is it? Is it their exotic, allegedly, is it their exotic blood? Katie tried hitting back at Pippa with that early years project, a subject which fell under Pippa's credential studies. Says Mary Mann. Kate is the one going through some things. Yes. Yes. Karen says he was selfish and insane at the same time. And then he keeps calling her a child. I don't care what Charles do on this earth. He will, and that's all I can see for now. Yeah, like, this woman is out here, wherever she is. And we don't... it makes no sense. Like, the cruelty, the way you speak about your mother, the way you're violent, allegedly, if we're to believe Harry, and I do, right? If we're to believe his book Spare, then we understand that you get emotional, your emotions get highly charged, and you lose, it looks like allegedly you lose self-control and start doing things. You become violent, apparently, or allegedly, according to your brother. And you want to fight. You want to fight him. First of all, Harry is like a person who works out. You know, he's doing all this polo and stuff out here in the world. I don't think you want it with him like that. Okay, he was selfish and insane at the same time. Then he keeps calling her a child. I don't care what Charles do on this earth. He will never get my vote or sympathy. He is a monster. That's what we see. Like, what are his loves? It looks like, and it looks like he loves the environment. There's some things that he does positively that we see, at least, around the environment. And at the same time, your baby, your child comes over and to find out that, to make sure you're okay, and you turn him away. You spend maybe 45 minutes with him. And if that's the case, and if it's not the case, you allow it to be in the press, and you think that that's a good thing. Like, oh, I showed Harry. We showed him. He traveled for however many hours only to be rejected by us. I had things to do with my wife, right? I really tried to feel sorry for her, but she was too gleeful bullying Meghan. She and William bonded over their hate for Meghan, but she forgot when Meghan left, his hate for her would return. Yeah, and what is the hate? Is it also like because of a how do you hate someone who's so good and so kind? Like, is it I want one of those too and I can't? I can't because I have one of my own already and you're not allowed to have two? Like, I don't know. Is it, again, I go back to Suits, and I go back to when Harry revealed in Spare that they watched that show and loved the show. Not her. Oh, because on Suits, if you've not, I'm sure we've seen it, but if you haven't seen it on Suits, Meghan was like, she is who she is. And yes, she was acting, and she's also a lot of the characteristics that define her, she brought to her character, right? And so, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, all that stuff, please. I always forget to, I don't say it enough, I think. Like, if you like any part of this episode, or, like it, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all of those things, because it really does help the channel. Yeah, so I think when they were watching together, and then she shows up, and she's beautiful, and she's everything. And so, a lot of times, a lot of humans feel jealous when they see someone like that. It can be a natural thing, a natural feeling. And for some people, it's like, I want that too. You don't get to have the best price. You don't get to have that because, some people say that Harry wasn't supposed to have anything good. And then he turns around and has Meghan, right? How would you feel? Like, not you guys, but how would someone feel if their brother got all the cast-offs, and their brother is wearing like holy shoes, and their brother is doing all this grunt work, and their brother is the spare, if you will, and that thing looks like in that family that it's a real thing. Princess Diana likely tried to love those boys in a way where they both experienced great love. And in the inheritance, Harry gets very little compared to his brother, right? And so, Queen Elizabeth left Harry more. Really? William don't need nothing. What does he need? He has a whole kingdom. What would an extra $1 million look like for William? Nothing. When you got billions and billions and billions and billions. Queen Elizabeth too allegedly was trying to leave Harry a kind of generational wealth where he didn't have to worry about his kiddos. And Princess Diana also knew what Harry was inheriting at whatever age compared to what William was gonna get. Like, is it fair to leave, some people will say divided equally. Is that the fair thing to do when someone has so much more? I heard that, let's see. Well, I heard that William told Harry that he was already an uncle. Oh, during the Liz's funeral walkabout, Kate bemoaned that being next to Princess Meghan was the most. Oh, wow. I don't even remember reading that, Mary. That is either we can say she's had a really easy life. If the most challenging, difficult thing you've ever done is be next to Meghan, that's wild. The royal rota tried to play off Kate and William's fight by claiming when they get mad, they have pillow fights. What are they? Okay, let me ask y'all a question. What's in them pillows? If they're having pillow fights, what is in the pillows that they're fighting with? The classless Camilla snubbed First Lady Macron. Is this recent? Or did I miss something? So how, Mary? How did she snub First Lady Macron? Harry was supposed to be miserable with Pippa. Queen Elizabeth left Harry nothing. It was the Queen Mother. Ah. You think she sneaked him something when he was there? Like when he went to visit her? Oh my, I hope. And you know what? At the end of the day, Harry is out here making money moves, right? He's out here working for Netflix, right? And he is about to do for Polo what Formula One did, what Netflix did for Formula One. You have got a brilliant, gorgeous, kind, dare I say, handsome, even sexy prince, sexiest man alive, right? In this space, who is going to bring polo to the masses. And that is going to give the kind of shift that is happening when Americans start playing the real football, dare I say, with the game that's played with the feet. And, what Serena did for tennis all around the world. This time next year, after Harry's show premieres, there's not going to be any coming back. The polo's going to be, it's going to be flattened, I think. And, you guys can let me know if I'm wrong. But I think polo is going to be flattened and it is going to come to the masses. And people are going to be speaking about polo, even if they're not playing it, right? They're going to be speaking about polo and understanding its rules and following polo. They're going to be going to matches. They're going to be building stadiums and et cetera, et cetera. Princess Karen says, Ron says, yes, it happened at the D-Day ceremony. Karen says, Princess Diana was smart and figured it out very quickly, and she was not having it in her life or living like that life. She was putting her foot down, and she was called a problem. Yeah, because I'm not going to be the only alleged monarch in history not to have an affair. And not only am I having an affair, but I'm actually in love with this other woman. And have been, and Mommy said I couldn't marry her. Mommy said, because her husband, it is alleged that Camilla's ex-husband was supposed to be like something of a ladies' man and really charismatic and all of these things, and that she was completely in love with him at that time because he was so charismatic, right? And so she married him. Queen Elizabeth allegedly didn't like Camilla. They didn't vibe, if you will, and so Charles couldn't marry her. And so they went there. And then there's something about the oldest son, too, that I've heard out there. Yeah, Princess Diana, Harry's smart. And so they like to say that Harry's thick, if you will. And from what I see, he's a brilliant public speaker. He's a compassionate person. Like everything he does. And you guys, have you seen that meme that went around with, and it was kind of a mean meme comparing William and Harry, and like they were climbing this rope and they were running through tires or whatever. And Harry looks like kind of a superstar, and William, it's like a womp womp. But Harry's out here really running and doing all this stuff in sport, and you can see that he's super fit and that it comes natural to him. Even the race when there was William, Harry, and Kate, and William looks like he's trying so hard. He manages to edge out Kate, but he doesn't get anywhere close to Harry, at least where that's what my eyes saw. The monarch has sole control of the purse strings, whilst all others are kept penniless and tied to the firm. So Mary, when Harry left and went out on his own, and he's out here striking all kinds of, like, they're not making like $100,000 deals. They're making, from all of these endeavors, lots and lots of money. And they're, putting their money where their mouths are. Like, they're doing a lot of charitable work, but their babies aren't going to have to worry about that in the way that Harry couldn't afford shoes, which was just like, when I look at those old pictures, I'm just like, that's ridiculous the way they treated Harry. Um, Professor Zinzi, where have you been? I don't know where I've been. The French First Lady tried to hold Horsemilla's hand. She would not take the lady's hand. The French lady even grabbed her. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Mary. um, Prince Harry won the jackpot with Princess Meghan. Connie Balmer says, Merry man. Hey, Connie. William's just like his father. Camilla lived in a house across from Charles and Diana's summer house. Rose lives behind William and Kate's garden. Funny, the house sick Kate lives, and I can't see the rest. Yeah, so, these old families they have been intertwined, and they run in the same circles, and they have a lot of the same beliefs overall, right? And so it's natural. And so when Princess Diana comes along and she marries this guy, she's just a young woman. And she's not schooled in these ways, but she's a quick study. So she marries him, and they don't stay married that long. And then there are lots of, and she said to, what was it, what's his name, Martin Bashir, that there were 3 of us in this marriage, right? Connie Balmer, Ron M. Balmer, howdy. Yeah, so she says those things, right? That there are 3 of us in this marriage. So she managed to get out. And that was another thing. I think, I know they had to go to Queen Elizabeth to ask for permission to leave that marriage, and she saw that they were miserable and allowed them to divorce. So I know that much, right? Let's see. Connie says, I had guests. I hope you had a wonderful time. The walkabout, Karen says, at Windsor Castle for the Queen's funeral when they begged Prince Harry and Princess Meghan to join them. Yeah, and you see lots of articles going around that are saying that William was welcoming to Meghan during that moment, and she did. She looked so afraid. Prince to join them for the publicity. The missing claims, the most difficult thing that one. Okay. Well, she wasn't, they were like walking on opposite sides of, and yeah, so what got reported that I saw in the news too was around him being so welcoming to her as they were doing things. And then, at the same time, I also saw the one lady who was rejecting Meghan quite publicly around all of those things. So, yeah, that's, and I think Meghan looked almost as beautiful as she's ever looked. And she also looked like, to me, she looked 10, 15 years younger. She looked like a little girl walking around with all of her anxiety, feeling quite afraid around what was happening. The walkabout at Windsor Castle. Okay, yep. Princess Meghan to join them for the publicity, missing claims. Yep. Okay, so that's, yeah, and I'm not a big follower of Kate in that way either. So I don't typically go to Kate articles and things of that nature. I have become concerned about her these days, because it seems like when I have gone to anything like that, it ends up in me having a lot of trauma around not really wanting to take in all the hate. So, I have a friend who watches and listens to a lot of that, and it just, some of the things that they say around Meghan and her mom, it's just unbearable. So yeah. Camilla refused to take the First Lady's hands. Yeah. Camilla is, it's a lot. And, history has his eyes on her. She allegedly doesn't have a child by Prince Charles. I mean, you hear some things banted about in different circles around around those things. And not even that, just also that he's supposed to have a kiddo allegedly. I think, is it Australia, you guys, where this man who claims to be, he kind of looks like him though, right? And so yeah, we see all of these things happening, and they intersect. And today we're talking about how Princess Angela, intersected with Princess Meghan around the same kinds of issues. They intersect around, of course, race and gender, and how they had struggles in the UK with the British, not with the British media, how they had struggles with media. But for Princess Angela, not as much. She suffered more around the people in the kingdom who were whispering about who she is and how she gonna fit in, and she managed to fit in, quite well, and they managed to thrive, right? So we had the whole poem at the beginning, and Princess Angela proved that she belonged, and Archie and Lily, those things happened and came about as a result of that marriage. Angela quietly thrived. She thrives till this day. She's an artist, and she is living her life with her husband. They're both very fashionable, beautiful women who are kind and compassionate. Angela's quite grace. Yeah, Angela, again, fashion. And they're universally admired. And we were talking about that we would love to have more information around Princess Angela and their to see what are her thoughts, who is she as a person, because she doesn't get a bright enough light, in my mind, shined on her. We see that Meghan, again with the wedding dress, paid a kind of homage to Princess Angela, and there we are, right? We can see that the lines are very similar, the sleeves are very similar, the neckline Meghan showed a bit more, and the flowers are similar. So yeah, it looks like she did. And we see Princess Angela's son and husband, and we see him when he was a younger guy, her son, at Prince Alphonse and Maximilian, and we see them happy and fashionable and beautiful, and I love this picture. And we see Prince Alphonse giving a eulogy for, I believe, his grandfather, and being able to manage whatever anxiety that he potentially had, and to do that and have a rounding success. And then we see our, the reason that we are here, our faves, Prince Harry and Princess Lilibet, Princess Meghan and Prince Archie living and loving on each other. And, again, we don't get enough of these kinds of images. So as we get ready to close for the day, I want to thank you. Oh, wait, I just saw something from Connie Balmer. I went to the funeral of Diana. It was very sad. Everyone was crying. And when Harry, when he passed by, emotions ran high. Yeah, because that was just so sad when you saw the, we call it the caisson, or that's carrying. When that passed by, it was, I don't think they should have been there. I think that really scarred them. And yeah, it bugs me to this day that he was there. And if it were not for Princess Meghan, where would he be? How would he be existing today? Would he still be toting the family line? I hope not. I'm glad that he is where he is. And I guess we don't even have to think about that. But when he saw what he saw, he got his diary out, and he, did whatever he did. And they were able to match their diaries, and they were able to figure out dates, and they were able to go to Botswana, and they were able to put their, they were able to spend enough time and energy doing the thing that they knew they wanted to do, probably from the beginning. So, let's see. Do we know how Church Nelly is? I haven't heard. Princess Diana, like Henry VIII, first queen, and Catherine of Aragon, stated, "I refuse to go." Yeah, you guys know how this chat is. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for showing up today and participating in the chat. Thank you so much for being a part of the squad and showing up for the squad, showing up for ourselves. And I hope to see you next time. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, to whatever all those things are. And I'm going to be making some edits to and answering some of the comments in a few minutes. Hello, Ingrid. And friends of the squad all over the world. Yes. I see Africa, I see Latin America, North America, and I see Australia and China. Yes. Um, Karen, as soon as that comes up, yeah, I just want to thank all of you for showing up. I believe it was the most difficult for the missing because it was the time she'd come face to face. Oh, yeah, for what she did. That's right. That's what it was. It was, it wasn't necessarily revealed completely who had said whatever they said about Prince Archie's skin, right? That part wasn't revealed, but she knew. And because also she probably was feeling a certain kind of way about, remember, the interview wasn't supposed to do much, and the interview was the thing that the whole world watched. So it was brilliant. It did what it needed to do because Meghan hadn't pushed back, Harry hadn't pushed back, but when they were able to tell their own story in their own words, then they were able to communicate with the whole world what happened, right? From their own perspective. And so it shook the world. People were watching not just that day, but they were watching on any device and however they could. And after that, then we got another mini documentary that also fleshed things out a bit more in their love story. And then we got a whole book spare. But yeah, at QE2's funeral, when they were doing the walkabout, and you would think like that a conversation could have been had around some of these things because we're all adults, right? But apparently they couldn't. And, or not that they couldn't, they apparently chose not to. So, I think that what people need to understand when it comes to any of these things is that memory is faulty, right? So remember when there was the whole QE2 statement, I think it was QE2, around they said, she didn't say memory is faulty. They said something like that recollections may vary. Yeah, there it goes again. That's how my mind works. Recollections may vary around the racism row, right, if you will. So they were trying to clean it up, but that was also a very hurtful thing because, again, like Maya Angelou said, whether we get it completely right, we understand how you make us feel. So when we're in these spaces and we're doing whatever it is we're doing, when Princess Meghan was in spaces with them, she might not have had every single word right that she said on the Oprah show, but she remembered the essence of it was how you made me feel. And if you made me feel like trash, then I know what was being communicated via nonverbal communication, right? So, and that's what exists, like, because for me, when I have conversations with my family members and we're talking about the exact same story that happened to all of us, even a funeral of my grandmother, we all have faulty memory, right? We all remember things in a different way, or some other word will jar a kind of memory. And so when Meghan and Harry were communicating their stories and then that thing comes out, yeah, recollections do vary. And we know how you made us feel. We know what those words were that were said about our son. We know that it was a concern around, not a, oh wow, can't wait to see how Archie looks when he's, No, we're concerned. That's how you make me feel. So, recollections may vary, but the feeling gets etched deep inside of us, right? Um, Side piece turned Queen Consort turned First Lady Macron. Oof. And like, who really wants to? Yeah, I'm gonna not be so shady today. I'm gonna keep that thought to myself. But I don't know that I will say this. I don't know that she would be the first person that any baby would want to run to when they're looking for people that they think they want to be held by. Like, I don't know that she's the one in the room that people are gonna like want to go sit next to. I don't know that she's the one in the room that people are gonna feel like, oh, I gotta, sit next to her. Like, nah, like, so okay, you can do that, but how are you gonna be remembered in the space when you're no longer here? People are gonna be talking about how you treated First Lady Macron. People are gonna be talking about how you, treated Princess Diana. If you can do that to a young girl, we see you climbed and crawled yourself out of a certain space to get what you wanted. And at the same time, like, Prince Charles ain't gonna be here more than 20, 30 years max, right? If he lives to the fullest potential of the lifespan. And what will be said about you when you're no longer here, right? We remember how you made us feel. And even for people who, and she got a cute husband anyway, First Lady Macron, right? Her husband is cute and smart and, you know,